Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 20TIMinutes. I have two very special guests, my new friends, mental health advocates, apparel company owners of Lovebrain. We have Vince and Gracie. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
You guys are the best, and I'm so glad that we linked up because I like forced my friendship on you guys. I found you guys on Instagram and I was like, I need a shirt and I need new friends, and you guys are perfect. So Lovebrain is a company, an apparel company that supports mental health by sending out a message on the shirts so it starts conversation and breaks the stigma. Can you explain more about Lovebrain, why you started it, when you started it, and how it's going?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started Lovebrain. Well, for a couple of years, we wanted to have a company. Like, we've always been very entrepreneurial together, and we weren't sure exactly what we wanted to do. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, I really think it'd be cool to have some sort of mental health shirt. And I really just wanted it for myself. So I looked into like how I could just get one shirt because I didn't want to buy like a bulk thing or anything, like just for myself. And I started playing around with this one graphics app. And so I was editing and I was making all this fun stuff, and I ended up loving it. And I was like, this is so much fun. And I'm like, this looks pretty dang good. Like, what if we tried to sell this? And so I texted him. I'm like, so what do you think about like this idea? And then literally that night we applied for our LLC. We got our URL done. We got all of it like the first night, we had most of our designs already. And I was like, this is important to me because I have, mental health disorders. All of my whole life pretty much have struggled here and there, off and on, different things. And I was like, this might be something good because I'm all about good messages and I always want to give back. And so the big reason that we did this too is not only to spread awareness, but because we're able to give back. And we do give a portion of all proceeds back to NAMI to help them and help our mental health community while still spreading the message. So
yeah, you guys are doing a great job. And I know with the NAMI, they're a great organization.
Mm-hmm.
They do so much. That website is so interactive to find help. So that's a great organization that you guys are working with. When did you guys start up Lovebrain?
So we officially launched August 13th, I think, of 2020. So it hasn't even been a full year, but we were working like at least 3 months.
Oh yeah,
if not earlier.
Yeah, June, May.
Yeah, we had the ball rolling.
All the legal stuff and
all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I know. And you guys are doing really well. It's very professional. Your website, your shirts, your designs, and you do have a good eye for making designs. Is it you that's going in on it, or is it both of you kind of making the designs together?
Well, thank you. I make the majority of them. Which is why some of them.
It's not hard to tell.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. Vince is just the model.
Yeah. Some of them are a little girlier, which is usually because it's me who makes them. But he has had his hand in a lot of like the.
I've come up with some of the same.
Yeah. He came up with that idea.
As you can see mine on, if you're watching this, my Heinz, it's one of the best fitting shirts I have, and I love it.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, he loves that one too.
Yeah.
And I know I put your
I'm kind of losing you. I kind of only got a little bit of that, Vince. What was it?
Oh, I kind of push her to make a little bit more shirts that are for guys. Because I know a lot of the designs and a lot of the colors are a little topical and
feminine.
Yeah.
So he has had a hand in that, but for the most part, we do everything. So like the only things we don't do sometimes, like some of the art, I'm not an artist, so like some of the art sometimes we'll have like a contractor help us, but all the designs, all the fonts, all the colors, all of that we do between us too. So.
And you guys have about 1 million designs. When I was like looking through the store, I was like, I'm on like page 10, and I had I was like, which one did I like? And I like went back to page 2, and I was like, I'm just gonna go with the high anxiety for right now. And I'm having anxiety going through all these, but they're all great. My wife has one. You guys sent her out one. I forget which one it is. I told her to take a photo.
Which one she got too.
And we'll post a photo of that soon. She needs it. And you're wearing my shirt, which is lovely too.
Yes. We
how's
love it.
How's that fit?
Oh, perfect. I love it. It's so comfy and cozy too. Like it's not scratchy. Sometimes like, t-shirts can be scratchy. This one's super nice. So
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, your shirt's great too. And I think we can just go back and forth and just saying how much we love each other.
Totally.
So you guys have been working since June, which is great. So Gracie, you were talking about your past. So do you mind talking about that if you want, and how that translated into this? Like, what was your moment in your life? You're like, know what? I'm going to start helping people. Let's do this for real.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's kind of funny. So my whole mental health journey started in 7th grade, and I actually had family members that had went through a lot of mental health stuff. So I kind of saw mental health like firsthand, and like mental health disorders and like how to treat them. And so I was pretty keen to like going to therapy and like doing all those things. My family was super open about it, which is a blessing, because as we know with mental health, sometimes I just feel like which is part of our whole message, is there's such a stigma around getting help, and that, you need these major issues to get help. And that's not always the case. So for me, it was actually started more so with OCD, which at the point we didn't know that it was OCD. And it's crazy too, because once again, OCD manifests in so many ways that aren't talked about and people don't understand fully. And so mine was like intrusive thoughts, which is actually pretty similar to like postpartum. Like a lot of women have intrusive thoughts, and it could be anything, but there's tons of different, I don't know the word, but like different themes that you can have. But usually they're the complete opposite of who you are. So they could be violent or angry thoughts or mean. And it's usually with like for the people you love the most. And so these thoughts kind of go out of control, and you feel like you're losing all control. And so in 7th grade, I had these thoughts, and it was, as you would imagine, miserable, because no one really knew. And at that point, mental health, like, and that was, granted, that was, probably like 13 years ago now, but even back then, like that, it still wasn't as known, like we're still doing research and stuff. So mental health is like always evolving, which is great. And, treatments, and they didn't know that it was OCD. And so I went to therapy for a couple of years and got a lot better. Then went to high school, and things started to fall apart again. So sophomore year, I had a lot of family stuff going on. I was going through divorce, a really rough breakup, traumatic situation, family stuff. We lost literally like 3 or 4 family members within 1 year, had passed away. So it was a really hard time. And so then I started having panic attacks. So then it kind of went from the OCD to panic. And obviously that's hard, because you have to go to work and school, and you can't just have panic attacks all the time. Like that doesn't really work either. So then it was panic. Then it kind of went into a time period where panic calmed down, but then like regular everyday anxiety kind of started. Then it went into eating disorders, where I just wouldn't eat, because I thought I was just like felt so upset that I just didn't eat. But then it got to the point where like I was like, well, I kind of like the way I look, and I have control over this. So then it went to eating disorders. Then and all through this time, I've been seeing a therapist, and so I kind of through each stage like grew and learned more, and was able to cope more and more with each situation that I kind of went through. And eventually now and I was able to kind of get over a lot of that. So now it's more just OCD, and like that can, like I said, can manifest in so many different ways with intrusive thoughts, or as you see a lot of times, like excessive organization, or washing your hands 30 times, locking the door, stuff like that. So now, like in today's, like presently, I more struggle, I would say, with like anxiety and OCD from time to time, but OCD tends to flare up usually like in times of, hard times. And what made me want to just help people was the fact that I felt so alone going through that. And like in 7th grade, as many people who know me know, like I care so much about people. Like I literally like would take a bullet for anyone. Like I just care so much. So like when you have those thoughts that are so different than who you are, it makes you question, like, I'm losing it. Like, I'm crazy. And I just thought, like, I don't want anyone to have to feel like they're alone in that. And I just wanted to make it more normalized, so that people know that although it may not be like normal for your mental health disorder, those symptoms can be really normal, and that doesn't make you a bad person.
I love how we always go normal. Anytime we do that, we do the quotation marks.
Yeah, because what is normal, right?
Oh, 100%. To back up a little bit, I feel like you hear this too when people use OCD in a phrase of like, oh, I like to organize stuff, I have OCD, and you're like, that's not kind of how it works. Can you explain more, maybe like an analogy or someone that doesn't know OCD to like make it easy for them to understand? Like, how would you put it into simple terms, someone that can understand it?
Well, the main thing, and like I post this on social media all the time, like ad nauseum, but is like, these are disorders, right? And it drives me crazy because with health, it's like, you know, we talk about physical health, but like your brain chemistry is off. That's what gives, like, what causes you to have mental disorders. So it's like, why do we care about physical health, but we don't care about the health of our brain, which in many cases, like in life or death cases, if they're brain dead, if people are brain dead, usually it's like, they're pretty much dead. You know what I mean? But then when it comes to like chemicals and like balancing it, it's just, no one cares as much. And so with OCD, like what I've tried to put out there, and it actually kind of started mostly on TikTok, is funny because I posted one day, was like, you know what? I have panic attacks sometimes still. So I'm like, what if I just give my, like, what helps me with panic attacks? And that video actually got like 15,000 views. And I was like, holy heck. And people were commenting, were like, thank you so much. And that was another thing that kind of launched me to want to like help people with mental health. But I always say, like, if you're diabetic and, you took insulin, no one would say anything about that, right? You wouldn't go around and be like, oh, she's diabetic, like as a joke or as an adjective, like it wouldn't make sense, right? But with OCD, it's always, oh, well, they're just so organized, or I like things a certain way, so I have OCD. It's like, no, OCD could be very earth-shattering. And even for people that do have like OCD with organization and stuff, it's not funny or quirky. Like, it's to the point where it's causing issues in relationships and friendships. And so it's just offensive, honestly, to say that. If you don't have it, same with bipolar, anorexic, if someone's skinny, they're like, oh, she's anorexic. Like, it shouldn't be, a disorder should just not be used as an adjective. And you would think in today's day and age, we would realize that, but unfortunately, like, that's just not the case. And, it's just something that shouldn't be used unless it's used in the right context, because it's a disorder, what I mean?
It's definitely like an education thing that people don't know about. Like, even with my therapist, like, I didn't know what OCD was at the time, and I like kind of asked her, I was like, hey, do I have OCD? And then she would ask me certain questions. She was like, no. I was like, all right, good. I was like, I can't take any more like mental health. Yeah, I'm like, I'm good. Good. And then with the eating disorder, was that like a medication thing that didn't make you want to eat? Because with me, with like ADHD, it makes my hunger curb. So I need to like force myself to eat. Was it something like that, or was it just something like a body image thing? If you want to talk about it, if you don't, totally understandable.
No, I'm so open about it. And same thing too, like, this is just another little like shameless plug, but I have like my blog, I have try to cover everything like that I've gone through. So if anyone's listening and wants to like read into that more, you can always check out the blog.
I forgot to mention that with the Lovebrain. Talk about your blog first, and then you can go over the eating disorder if you can.
No problem. Yeah. So the blog was something that I started because of actually my TikTok videos. TikTok was like the first thing I kind of started with mental health, where I was like, this is kind of fun. Like, I'm kind of giving people like help in like a minute. And like, I saw a couple other videos people did about like anxiety, and I'm like, I've been through a lot. Like, maybe someone can connect with me. And so I started with TikTok, and I loved the feeling that I was helping people. And I still like have people message me being like, hey, I saw your OCD video today. Actually, it was like, hey, I saw your OCD video. It's like, could you just chat with me for a little bit and can I just see if it's the same experience? And like, knowing that I can help someone, it makes me so happy. Nothing is more fulfilling for me. So I'm like, absolutely. So that was kind of like the inspiration with the blog, was I wanted to just give people a much like deeper dive into everything that I've gone through, and they can use it as a resource if they can't afford therapy or something else. Like, I try to list coping mechanisms and like what helps me, and like relationship, like how we deal with our relationship, besides my disorders, and how that all goes down. And so the blog, I think, is a really good resource for people who may not have any other resources, or people who just don't want to feel as alone, and then as far as the eating disorder, that kind of came about through my parents' divorce. And it was a tough time on everybody. But I think at that point in my life, it was something I felt I can control. And it actually did start with health. Like, I was having issues where I was passing out, and I was dancing literally like, I think like 14 hours a week. So I was a competitive dancer in high school, and I was like always dancing. And I couldn't keep up, like physically, I couldn't keep up eating with the amount of calories I was burning. And so I would pass out, and I had all these health issues because of it. But I lost a lot of weight still in that time. And I think I eventually like enjoyed the way I looked, and I was like, oh, like I look good. And it was more so, I think, too, just about the control, where it was like, okay, I have control over this. When so many things felt out of control, that was something that I could control, was my weight and how I looked. And so that kind of stayed that way for, I mean, honestly, all through high school, I would say. It gets to the point I didn't even necessarily know it was a problem. Like even back then, I didn't know it was an issue until looking back, and I'm like, yeah, that was definitely like a manifestation of just trying to get control over my situation.
I feel like high school is that type of moment where you are so self-conscious of your image and the way you look and like how you act, what clothes you're wearing. So that does make sense. It would happen in that point, I feel like, if you would agree. What was your turning point, or something that you noticed that you were like, I gotta get help? This is ridiculous. Did someone say something to you? Did you just notice something?
Well, kids at school were pretty mean. Like a lot of the people, like, and I don't even know if you could consider them like friends, like your friend group. Not like my closest friends, but some of like the extended would always make comments about my weight and be like, you look like you're starving. And like, even then I didn't necessarily know it was a problem, honestly, until I started dating Vince. And then like food became like a fun thing for us, where we'd be like, let's go get dinner. And like, I kind of fell in love with food again. Cause I literally, like, I'm telling you right now, like in high school, I wouldn't eat breakfast or lunch, wouldn't eat anything. I'd go to work after school, and I worked at a pizza place. And even then, like, I would go and maybe at like 6 o'clock would have like a salad with like no dressing. Like that's what I was eating. So like I was not eating anything, and I didn't even think it was a problem, which obviously looking back on it, yes, it was a major problem. But with you, we kind of made food like our fun thing.
Yeah, well, you're dating an Italian.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So
the best type of food.
Pasta all the time, and I just kind of at Lumalnati's, which was like one of the big Chicago pizza places here.
I was like, oh, we
yeah. So then it kind of just, I was happier, honestly. I had someone like stable. Like I think the stability like of our relationship kind of replaced like me feeling the need to control my weight as much. And it kind of was like, okay, I have stability for like once in my life. I felt stable, which didn't happen often with all the trauma that like me and my family went through. So that was kind of the turning point. And then looking back on it, I still to this day make sure, because like I'll even have like binge episodes sometimes still. And so like I'm still working on that. But as far as like anorexia, like, or that, thankfully it seems like hopefully that's in the past now. So
if you had to give a suggestion with someone battling that, what is something that you would tell them, or something comforting?
I think well, the one thing that I learned too is like I attached so much of my self-esteem to what I looked like. Like I didn't think I had anything else going for me other than what I looked like. And a lot of that was because I never felt good enough. And that's just with growing up, like with dating, like with relationships, with friends, like all that kind of stuff. I always just never felt good enough. And I think the weight was like the thing I held on to, where I was like, well, at least I have a good body. So like, that's great. So if I were to talk to someone with that, I would make sure to tell them like, your worth is not dependent on what you look like or how much you weigh. And I saw this one, I think it was like a TED talk, and they said, this one girl was saying, if the whole world was blind and it was just based on like who you are, would you be a good person? Would you be beautiful based on who you are and not what you look like? And that was something that stuck with me, because I just always tied beauty to what I looked like. And I realized like there's so much more beauty like behind that. And so I think for anyone struggling with anorexia or any kind of, body image issue, which a lot of people are just because of social media and, all that kind of stuff, is just like your worth is more than what you look like. And you can find control over other things. It doesn't have to be control so bad that, it's almost you're in control, but it's like negative control at that point, because you're only harming yourself. So.
Right. So back up a little bit. You guys are talking about food. You guys are both from Chicago, or the Chicago area, right? Yes. So are you guys a fan of deep dish pizza, or you just like regular?
Deep dish. So Lou Malnati's is where I worked at. I worked there for 3 years, and they have deep dish. Deep dish is it's worth the hype. Like it is one of those things that like it lives up to the hype. It is so freaking good.
So
I recommend.
I've been out to Chicago. I had a blast out there. I went to like the Billy Goat Tavern, saw the
Oh,
bean.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a blast. Deep dish pizza, not for me. It's like
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's special occasion pizza. You can't really
Okay.
eat it, you know,
We did
as
eat
like
it
a
every day in
regular.
high school,
That's the
but-
problem. We did, yeah. But
It's like-
for most normal people, I guess. You know,
It's
normal.
a lot. It's
Um,
greasy. It's thick. Like
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
lot.
it's a meal. It's you one corner slice, you're going to take a nap right after.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Oh,
eat it.
yeah.
I was like, I'm done. Like we have the Greek style pizza, which is like the
Yeah.
floppy kind. Like that's what we love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super funny. What is your go-to dishes in general? Like, what is for both of you?
Well, yeah, deep dish pizza, pepperoni.
No, yeah, I love the pepperoni.
His mom makes the best vodka sauce pasta like in the world.
She makes it homemade.
Homemade, like typical great Italian mom. So I'm over at his house all the time, like, give me the food. Like,
Yes.
I'm here for
I'm
it.
definitely spoiled.
Chicken parmesan.
Yep, chicken parm.
I like chicken palm. It's called chicken palm out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, chicken palm.
That's so funny.
I had an Italian grandmother. We called her Nani. Do you guys?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she was-
cute.
My Nani. So with your relationship, so when did you guys start dating? What grade?
So,
was-
end of junior year.
The summer going in the senior year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started realizing your mental health in like 7th grade. You had issues with eating disorders in high school.
Mhm.
How soon did you open up to Vince about these problems, or did he know beforehand? Like, what was your relationship like, and how did you guys meet?
I don't think you knew beforehand.
No, I had no idea.
I kind of put on the like, I'm great, everything's
Yeah.
great. Like, you know.
We met at school. Because our two closest friends,
A little bit closer, a little bit closer.
our two closest friends were dating each other, so that's how we met. But I had no idea about really anything.
Yeah, no, he learned along the way, but for not having, and like he never really had experience, right, with any
No.
people with really mental health disorders or anything.
No.
So
Yeah.
it was definitely new for him, I think, like when I first opened up, but like it is interesting too, because a lot of like anxiety and stuff like can manifest in different ways where like I might just like, he might say something like as a joke and I might start crying, and it's like kind of like not necessarily like
triggers.
I'm like, oh God.
like a good response. Like it's not something that should have made me that upset, if that makes sense. So like
Yep.
things like that would kind of present in the relationship where I'd be like, you know, well, that really hurt my feelings, or I'll just have like a full on breakdown. He's like, what did I do? You know, and I'm like, no, like it's not you. Like it's just, you know, my anxiety coming out, or, you know, whatever I was going through. And so, and he knows like my family, we've gone through a lot. So he was there for kind of the end of a lot of my family like turmoil and stuff. And so I think it kind of learned with that, like where some of like my stuff came from. And he was always super supportive too. Like when I started counseling again after I did counseling all through high school, stopped for like a year and a half, and then went back to therapy. And he was, you know,
I encourage you to do it.
yeah,
Get
exactly.
back into it.
Yeah, he was like, no, you definitely should. And yeah, so he's been a really good support. But
I can tell you're the social butterfly, and he's just like the relaxed guy. He's just
Yeah,
like, all
yeah.
right, just
yeah,
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 We
100%.
balance each other out.
yeah,
Totally.
you need that. Yeah, with my wife, it took a while because like, did you like obviously you were very open at some point. So you was like, do you guys like sit down and be like, hey, I'm diagnosed with this. This is what I deal with. Like, how did you end up working with that? Like, and like Vince, how did you react to it when you heard it? Because you were probably dealing with it before you really learned about it. So it must have been like a weird feeling. And you're like, okay, I gotta figure this out to make this work. And that's like one of the toughest things to do. And I think people on our end, like me and Gracie, commend you for that, because it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
No.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't really have that. It wasn't really that big of a deal for me when I heard it, you know, her diagnosis, because I mean, at this point we were, you know, so many years in the dating. I was like, oh, that's what it's called. Okay.
Yeah, like it was just kind of putting a
Like
name
that.
to
That's
it.
what OCD means. I didn't know that. Like I said, I thought it was, you know, the typical meme. Or
Right,
whatever.
where like the colored pencil
You know,
ought to
I'm
be
like,
more,
okay, so
yeah.
that's what it actually means, you know, and you're diagnosed with it, so I guess it makes sense, or, you know, there's an explanation for it.
Well, and he like, I wasn't even like, when we first started dating, I didn't get diagnosed for OCD until like 2 years ago, like not even.
Yeah.
So I was battling these intrusive thoughts for like my whole life with no explanation where they came from. And so that was incredibly difficult on me because it's like, I just thought I was a bad person. So I would punish myself. And a lot of times I try to push him away too, because like something you do when you've been abandoned or, you know, you don't feel good enough, as I mentioned, like a really easy thing to do would be to push him away. So like, there were so many times where like, you know, I didn't even necessarily know I was doing it, but like, you know, I'd be, you know, say something mean or, you know, just be an emotional mess and just kind of try and like push him away so that like, you know, hurt someone before they hurt you sort of mentality. But he stayed around. So, you know,
and here he is.
He's still here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, me and my wife had similar things. I think we both knew there was something wrong for the longest time. And I was doing good, I think, early in our relationship. Then it kind of progressed worse and worse. And like I was getting down. And then finally, like I knew I always had anxiety and depression kind of. And then ADHD was a big thing for me. Like everyone's like, you have it. And like it was one of those things like when someone says, oh, you have OCD or whatever. But like in my heart, I was like, yes, I definitely have it. And I never got help because it was like 2003, 4, like no one talked about mental health. Like you were just crazy. If there was like a homeless guy walking down the street and he was like talking to himself, you're like, that guy's crazy, but you didn't know his story.
So
I was always nervous to go seek help. But yeah, in school, I just schmoozed my way through. I just made friends with the teachers. I always say C's and D's get degrees. Like, like thank Christ they don't put a GPA on your diploma because I would have been terrible. So I always knew I had that. And once I got help with the ADHD, it was like a really good feeling because I can like concentrate. Like obviously you see me looking around, but I'm so much more focused and really good. I deal with like the manic and depression with the bipolar. But it is tough with my wife because she did see it and she stayed. She was strong with me, and we definitely butt heads like any other couple. We're both very animated, so it's like very like it's like a cartoon like battle. It's like the cloud of smoke when two people are fighting, just going around. It's not really. We have fun. She's I think with our coping mechanism is we make fun of it. Like I'm very like joking about it, and like she doesn't poke fun at me, but like we have fun with it.
We're like that too, for sure. Like, and that's the thing too, like, you know, and as you're saying, anything can be offensive really to anyone. Like you never know what's going to strike someone's chord. And with OCD, like it sucks when people say, you know, oh, like I'm my OCD, like, cause it's like what I've gone through, like it's life altering and life ending for a lot of people who struggled with OCD and intrusive thoughts. Cause like they said, they didn't know what was going on. So they thought they were a horrible person, you know? And so like that for me, like sometimes is like triggering, but when we talk about anxiety and stuff, like we make fun of it sometimes too, because like, I mean, like we'll be times where I'm like, I'm anxious. And he's like, well, when aren't you anxious? I'm like, true. You know, like we kind of joke around about it too, because it is like a way of coping. And sometimes like it is kind of funny when you actually think about it. And, you know, it's hard when you have an imbalance, but sometimes it's like, what am I anxious about? Like nothing, but I still have to be anxious. Like I still got to be nervous because you never know, you know? So we totally poke fun at it too in our own way. And, you know, it doesn't upset us because it's just, sometimes it is kind of like funny, even to me, where even like after a panic attack, I'll be like, really? Like I just worked myself up that much over nothing, you know? And then I kind of laugh at myself because it's like, oh my gosh, like why'd I do that, you know?
I always, you might be the same way. You always like predict conversations you're going to have. And then like, I was trying to raise money for like a competition I was doing for like, children with cancer. And I was like going into this coffee shop and I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say. So I went up to him with like my form and I was like shaking it. Like I was like, here you go. And I was like, hey, do you, and like, I was like talking in tongues. Like I made up my own language and Lindsay's like in the back, like, she was trying to hold it together. And when we left, she was like, dude, like that was ridiculous. Like, I'm like, I know I tried so hard not to be ridiculous, but it was so bad. Lovebrain. Me and you have something in common. My good friend Caleb with Appetizers LLC. I have an app and you guys have an app. Talk about that. And so everyone pause this episode right now. Go on your iTunes or your Google Play, type in Lovebrain, download their app. You can read the blog, right? You can go purchase your shirt. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff to do. I just have like my episodes and like stupid photos. Like, you know what I mean? Like I like having it, but he made a great product. So shout out to Caleb with Appetizers LLC. But yeah, definitely talk about your app.
Yeah, no, well, thank you too, again, for connecting us with him. But He was awesome. Oh my gosh, like so, made it so easy. He had our app done in like 2 weeks, I think even less than 2 weeks. Yeah, it was super quick, but it's so exciting because although like obviously in any market, like there are mental health apparel companies, like it's not a brand new revolutionary idea, but none of them, at least at this point that we saw, had apps. And so we were like, that would be so cool, kind of give us a leg up. Because I mean, me personally, I love shopping on apps. Like for me, I'd rather shop in an app than like on a browser. It just feels like more secure. It's just easier to access. And so we were like, we really want that for our customers where it's easier. And especially with the blog too, because sometimes online, like I'm one of those people, I like to read things on my phone, like quickly if I can. So it's nice, like anytime I have a new blog post, we can send a notification and then, people are able to read it. But we love our app and we have so much more that we want to add to it. Like I want to add some more resources and, we've worked on our own mental health journal. So that's on our site now. We want to try and get that over onto the app so it's downloadable. But yeah, the app is so cool. And I love your app. I always listen to your podcast on your app, actually. So.
I really appreciate it. And it's funny, like using, it's very easy, not easy, but it's like very organized to do. But the one thing that always drives me nuts is it's like in the UK version. So like the week starts on like Monday.
Oh yeah.
When I try to do a push notification, I'm like, wait, I was like, today's not the 18th. I was like, what is going on? It's so funny. What you guys should do, you guys should start a vlog. Like just like recording your weeks just together. Like you guys have such a great dynamic. I think that would be fun for you guys.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Just another tool in your Swiss Army knife of Lovebrain. And I love early, I meant to say this, your analogy with like the being in like a having like brain damage and like you can't survive. Like I always said that. I always mentioned that. And like my eyes like lit up when you said it, because I'm always like, I can break my arm, have a cast, and everyone feels bad for me. They can see it. They understand that. And even if my arm got cut off, I can survive. Obviously, I'm going to hit a bout of depression, and I would have to get that fixed, probably in my mind. But when it comes to your head, if you get your brain cut out, it's game over.
Yeah.
And no one realizes that and don't treat it the same. So like when you call out of work sick because you're too anxious or need a mental health day, you're like, oh, my work's going to get so mad. They're going to get a doctor's note. I'm like, and they're like, I'm crazy. There you go. Here's a sheet. Here's my prescription. Like, I don't know what you need.
Right.
And it is getting better with that. And a lot of companies are very helpful with mental health. And I read like, you got to be kind of open with them, but it is like a double-edged sword. Like, do I want to tell my job about my mental health? Because they can secretly not give somebody a promotion because of it without saying it. Yeah. And I think that's one of my biggest fears with my anxiety. It's like, I'm open about it now. And I realized my coworkers found my podcast and I was like, oh, here we go. And like,
I got to tell them that.
Yeah.
I know people like mention it at work. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know that person. Different guy.
Yeah. And then I go up, I'm like, we don't talk about it in here. But no, they're very supportive. It was funny. One of my coworkers downloaded my app and her name came up. So I sent her a text immediately and it was like a GIF and it was like, and it was
That's
like
hilarious.
2 seconds after she did it, she was like, how did you see that so quick? I'm like, I'm on my podcast and my phone at all times.
Yep. That's so funny. No, but it is true with brain stuff. It's just like, and it's the same like stigma too with even like addiction. Like, and I'm a big Demi Lovato person. Like I've always loved Demi Lovato. She's always been like my inspiration and stuff. And like with her, like I always saw things where it's like, she would have died from her overdose. It would have been, we need to, addiction's real. We need to help that. We need to do that. But because she survived it, she just gets memes and like gets people being, making drug jokes. And like, it's the same sort of thing. Like people don't care, I feel like, as much about mental health until they lose someone because of it, or like it affects them personally. And then they can kind of address that it's like an actual real life thing that all these people have to deal with every day. And depression, like that could be so bad that you don't get out of your bed for weeks at a time. Like it's not a choice. You know what I mean? It's not a personality or disorder. It's a disorder. It's not, you trying to be you.
Like being lazy.
Yeah, being lazy or like it's just not the case. And there's just so much stigma around it. And that's exactly why we launched this company, so that we can spread the word and help like end that stigma, so that people that need help, first of all, know they're not alone, you know, and can get help and not be judged for that. So
yeah, we're in that circle of like mental health, and we can joke about it together, but when it's the outside looking in, making memes and jokes, you're like, come on, like you're
right.
not part of the joke.
Right.
You are making a joke about it.
Right.
And yeah, Demi Lovato, I always talk about it in my episodes. She's also a jujitsu practitioner. She's like a blue belt in jujitsu. So she was very open about that, making she was saying that helped her a lot, and it helped me a lot, because your confidence goes up a lot. But I agree with the whole, like, if she did like end her life, everyone would be like thoughts and prayers, all this would be the same people that are doing that. And I mentioned that with the whole Meghan Markle thing.
Yeah.
Like, like she is an actress. Yeah, I get it. But if she went through with it, you'd be like, how did we wouldn't have known? Like, we don't know. And that infuriates me too, because you have to give people the benefit of the doubt. You have no idea. Like, people make joking comments about suicide, and then you're like, I don't know if they're just doing that to mask it. Because I would always make like weird comments. I'm like, yeah, I cried all the way to work, and I was hoping my car would drive off the road. And like they were like, haha. And I was like, if they only knew.
Yeah, if they only knew.
Yeah. So like a lot of people do that. There's like cries for help, and it's so hard. And I know I've been reading a lot of things, and I think you have too, is like how to talk about suicide with people and how to approach it, because it's super awkward.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, are you gonna kill yourself? And they're like, how'd you know? Like, it's tough, and it's tough to be a support for a friend, family member, especially if you don't know about mental health. Like Vince learned how to support you, and like loved you from the beginning, learned about you, made it work. So that's hats off to you, Vince, for that. And that's very difficult. And me and you agree. It's like we're crazy, but it's crazy in a different way, that somebody can have that mental capacity to try to figure it out and help and not run away. It's not like it's like the fight or flight. You're like, all right, I'm out of here because I don't want to deal with this. Or you're like, you know what? It's not even that big of a deal.
No.
You know what I mean?
And it's like any illness too. And like I always say that. And I even actually have, I think I have a blog post, or if not, I have one in the making, about like family members trying to support someone who's sick. Because if you're supporting someone who's physically ill, it is just as hard to support someone who's has mental disorder issues too. And so another thing I always say too is like, even though, you know, you have your own issues, you still have to try and like make the best of it for yourself. Like any other disorder, you know, take your medicine, do the things you need to do to stay healthy, because it is really hard on like the support. It really is. And it can cause, you know, issues if you're not communicating. And I think that's why, like with Vince, I told him like, hey, like when you notice me start acting like this, that's usually because something else is going on. Or like you can kind of tell, like if I'm starting to be this way, I'm probably just anxious. And then we kind of came up with, okay, when I am anxious or when I am in a panic attack, what can he do to kind of help me, you know, soothe me and calm down? And so then he remembered, you know, like, oh, okay, she said to do this. And then he does that and we get through together. And it's just become like a partnership thing where he just helps me through it. And then sometimes like he might get overwhelmed for my issues because it's overwhelming. And so then I kind of try to help him and be like, I get it. Like I've been in a caretaker position for mental health and physical health my whole life. So I understand how hard that can be, you know? So just open communication, I think, is like the huge thing with relationships when you have disorders. Like, what do I need to do when this happens? Same as if it was diabetes. What do I need to do when your insulin, you need insulin. Okay, it's the same sort of thing.
With my wife, I always explained it to her once I started learning about it, was I would always, because I feel like I always compared myself to the Incredible Hulk, where like I would just snap. And I would be like, and I was like, she would try to not get in my way, but she would try to fix it right away. And I just wasn't hearing it. Like I was just whatever. So then I was like, you know what? I was like, explain it to her, because I love analogies and I love explaining it.
Me too.
Like, in a way that like I can dumb it down for me. So I always said, like, I was like, I have a tractor beam like just in front of me. And if like someone gets in that way, it's going to be bad. I'm like, you just need for me to like wear myself out like a toddler. Like, let me just go for a walk, like go do my own thing and just like breathe. And I always forget to breathe. Like I'll be driving to work and like my toes are curled. And then like I'm driving to work, then all of a sudden I'm like, it's like so weird. So like once I start breathing and like thinking about like what just happened, It's good. And then I sucker her into like rubbing my back. I was like, if you rub my back, I'll feel like way better. And I'm like, sucker.
Yeah. That's funny.
It's fantastic. But I wanted to tell you guys, I know we're new friends, but I can't say how happy and proud I am for what you guys are doing to be at your age at 21 and fighting what you fought from. You were like getting like a boxer, like getting beat up, like you were rope-a-doping like every which way. And you are a strong, great person. You have a great support system. But again, I'm super proud of you guys for what you're doing. I wish I got help at that age. And anyone that's listening, at whatever age you are, it's never too late to do, and it's never too early to do. And I love that about you guys. And I tell everyone that. I'm like, Lovebrain is great because they're like 21-year-old kids that like are entrepreneurs, have their own business, and they're like, you know what? Mental health, it's normal. Like, this is what we do. So
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
We
no problem.
appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't go unnoticed. And like I always tell people, like, buy their shirt. It's cool shirts.
Oh, thank you.
It's cool
Yeah, we
shirts.
love our apparel. It's so fun.
You
It's
should.
just fun.
Lovebrain, love your apparel, you know.
Yeah, there you go. There you have it.
I think what's my promo code? Anyone listening? Is it 20TIM for 10% off?
20 Tim, capital TIM. So 20 capital TIM.
So anyone on here, obviously I'll post the website. If you go on there, use my promo code. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get 10% off and you get a pretty slick shirt.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I always like to have fun at the end of the episode. I gave you guys a heads up before because I never like to put people on the spot for silly stuff. I wouldn't say dumb stuff, but it's silly stuff. It was funny because I messaged you beforehand and I was like, yeah, everyone does like family, friends and all that junk. And I was like,
Yeah.
and the second I said it, I go, who says that? And you were like, yeah, all that junk. I'm like, it's not junk. All right. I'm like, I just say that stuff. And I always do that. I always do, like, not demean, but I always dumb it down. I'm like, yeah, that's boring shit. Like, it's just so bad. But let's start with the movie and music suggestions. Like, music is a big part of me. Like, if you love Demi Lovato, I assume you guys are big into music. So what would be a song that like gets you through like bad times or makes you happy, or just something that you listen to that you would be like, you know what, you guys got to check this out?
For me, it's Skyscraper by Demi Lovato, of course. And actually, I have a tattoo that says Skyscraper on me. And the whole reason I did that was because I was like, as we kind of talked about too, like with physical stuff, you can see a scar, you can see like that someone's been through something. But I felt like with mental health, you can't physically see all that I've like been through. And so Skyscraper was when she actually was in treatment. She was in treatment originally in Chicago. And so Skyscraper is actually about Chicago, about the skyline. And so that was so powerful because I'm from Chicago. So that was one where I was like, oh my gosh. And just because the whole point is about like rising up after you fall and, you know, growing. And that was right when she got out of treatment, and that was written during treatment. And so that was so powerful for me. And so Any Hard Days, like, I love that song. For you, I don't think I told you about this song.
Specifically, I love country music.
He's a country boy. He is.
You know,
What's that one, the boat song? He has a pontoon boat that he just loves.
Yes.
But there's this one song that you love that played.
I think it's called Pontoon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably that.
Yeah.
Pontoon boat.
But yeah, I don't have anything that's, you know, has some hidden message that I can remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any.
You got to get a pontoon tattoo.
I know.
I
You
love
really should.
I love it. I'm the same way with like mental health tattoos. Like I don't know if you saw that, my little bipolar tattoo I got on my shoulder.
I love that with the smiley faces.
Yeah. My buddies were always like, don't be afraid to wear it. And I was like, wear it. Let me get that.
You're like, I'm gonna permanently put it on me. How about that?
Yeah, and my wife for my birthday made the same logo on a sweatshirt. So that it's a very comfy sweatshirt too. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, very nice. And then what's like a movie you guys love that that gets you like same feelings?
Well, it's hard because like there's a movie, one of the movies that's so dumb that I just love because it just makes me laugh no matter what mood I'm in, which sometimes you need that, sometimes you don't need like too much of a deep movie, is Couples Retreat with like Vince Vaughn. I don't know why that movie kills. Like, I've been in the worst moods, like clinically depressed, and I will watch that movie and still manage to like laugh. So for some reason, I love that. You like, what's your favorite? You like the Employee of the Month? That one's funny.
With Dane Cook.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fun. I work at Home Depot, so it's kind of like a similar thing.
Like a warehouse.
Yeah,
kind of
you know, the retail environment. So I just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, that's kind of what we do, sort of.
Couples Retreat's great. There was like I think
Love
the
that.
year it came out, I watched like 5 times when they show up. He's like, this looks like a screensaver. But Vince Vaughn is like legendary, and
he's hilarious.
Oh, he cracks me up. There was a movie that just we watched where he plays like a serial killer, and it's like Freaky Friday, where they switch bodies. Lindsay didn't really like it, but I thought it was a cool idea. And it was like the only one. It was the part like Vince Vaughn could only play that part because he has to play like a 16-year-old girl. So like he gets mad sassy and stuff.
Oh,
so,
we gotta watch that.
Yeah, it's very good. And then also I had you guys think of 3 kind of like out of the box, 3 ridiculous things because not all that junk.
Not the junk of family.
Yeah. They already got enough love.
Yeah. You can go ahead.
Well, the first one
he wrote down
was the pontoon boat.
Pontoon boat
on there.
Of course.
Weather to get warm. So
he bugs me for 4 months and like that's my nickname. Yeah, he's like, it's already the 50s, time to go.
Yep.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Cheeseburgers is my second one.
Okay.
It'll always put me in a good mood no matter what.
What type of cheese do you use?
Huh?
What type of cheese?
Right.
Oh, cheddar and pepper jack's good too. Yeah, definitely those 2. And then my third one is Knob Creek. It's a whiskey, and specifically the maple flavor.
Literally,
I don't know. It's something with maple whiskey that it just sits good with me.
So good.
Have you tried the bacon whiskey yet?
No.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy whiskeys out there. I've had Knob Creek too. That is a good one. For burgers, I've been putting mozzarella cheese on mine. I love the mozzarella. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but I like mozzarella cheese. Yeah.
A little Italian and a little Italian flair.
I know. I get a little bit of Italian. I mean, that's why I talk with one hand.
Yeah. Oh, I always talk with my hands.
Yeah.
All the time.
I feel like I'm always being like a magician or like doing the robot. And I don't know. I don't even mean to do it. But what about you, Gracie?
First off, I love donuts, like Krispy Kreme donuts. Have my heart. So that was one. I'm like, I gotta mention them. They make me so happy. My second one is my hair straightener because I have crazy curly hair. So when I can straighten it, I have very curly hair.
Do you not like the curly hair? Because I've never seen it.
I like it, but it's just so knotted. Like people don't realize like with curly hair, like it's not always the same. Like every day is different. So like you can look like a supermodel or you can literally look like you like came out from under a bridge and it's just like a knot on the top of my head. So usually I like to straighten it like when I wear it down. Otherwise it's like always up 95% of the time because it just drives me nuts. So my hair straightener I'm very thankful for.
Nice.
And my third one is just white wine. Any kind of white wine. I'm a wine drinker.
Pinot Grigio.
Yes.
I'm a big Pinot Grigio.
We like not as much Moscato. We like Riesling. Moscato's a little too sweet, but Riesling is good. But Pinot Grigio is really good. So I
like white wine. I've never really liked red wine. I always feel like I'm taking a sip of juice, and I'm like, I don't like it. It's like the same thing.
Bitter.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with watermelon. And I feel like every time a tomato is a fake watermelon. It has like that same like every time I bite into one, I'm like, ugh. I'm like, this should be a watermelon instead. But I love white wine drunk is like one of the best drunks, like best like buzz, and it's like my go-to at weddings because I just get like super funky and start dancing around. But yeah, white wine's great. That's a good one.
Love it.
I thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to link up with me and finally do this. I've been dying to do it with you guys. It's so cool that like this is the first time we actually seen face to face. It's always Instagram through the voice message or just silly chats. But yeah, plug everything that you guys have, like Instagram names, websites, like everything you got. What do you got?
Yeah, we're on like almost every platform at this point, but our big ones are Instagram, which is just Lovebrain Co. So LOVE Brain Co. CO. And then Facebook, I think, is also Lovebrain Co. Twitter is the only one that Lovebrain Co. is taken. So it's Lovebrain Co. and the number 1.
Cool.
I know. Yeah. Dang people. And then we also are on, I usually talk about my TikTok more because it's pretty much Lovebrain. I mean, I advertise Lovebrain on there and it's, I do a lot of, so that mine is Gracie Pilger. I think it's just Gracie Pilger. Yeah, Gracie Pilger. And then I think that's it. YouTube, we're like starting we're starting to try and get some videos up, but that's pretty much it. And then our app, obviously, as you mentioned, check that out in our blog right every week.
We'll definitely do that. Yeah, definitely download the Lovebrain app. And then if you want, download the 20TIMinutes app. But yeah, we got to show off our shirts one more time so I can do a screen grab. Yeah, and the stigma, perfect. I might have to buy that one too.
We got to put it on the website. We haven't put it on there yet.
So Lovebrain, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Hopefully you have it.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely have you guys back in the future if anything changes.
Oh yeah.
You guys
anytime.
Once you guys blow up, I'm just riding your coattails to the top. So
we're riding your coattails.
No way. I'll be like your personal driver or your assistant or your bodyguard. I'll do anything. You guys just pay me in shirts. But thank you guys so much. Have a great day. I love you guys so much. I always have to tell people that I love you guys so much. And again, nothing but positive vibes and the best things for you too.
Thank you.
So have a good one.
All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. If you are feeling suicidal, please dial 911.